Alright, so let's talk. I've been working on a remake of the first Rune Factory game for the past almost year, Rune Factory of Fantasy Harvest Moon. And I thought eventually, why am I not documenting this? Probably because I tried to make devlogs for 2 projects in the past, and I didn't get past the first one for each, and both of those projects are temporarily discontinued. Mostly because I wanted to make a remake of someone else's game so that I can learn the ins and outs of more of kind of the genre going for that I want for one of my games. I've always been passionate about making some kind of farming simulator, life sim kind of game, especially since I grew up on the Rune Factory series. So I decided why not just remake the first Rune Factory game, which is a game that I don't think gets enough attention, probably because the functionality for it was not very good. But anyway, we'll talk about what I've been doing in the past while in this project. And then I'm going to show you myself building the Town of Kardea. I hope it will be enjoyable. So I can't show you everything, but I can give you a rundown of things I've been working on. The first thing I nailed down, actually before I even started this project, I made a Jrpg dialogue system, and I can show you that here. This is the iconic conversation between Leo and Camus when you walk into Leo's shop. He doesn't have a shop right now, but we're going to fix that today. So you can see it goes letter by letter, character by character, and shows you when it's done with his little icon down here. And I kind of changed the dialogue a little bit because it was stale sometimes in the first game, and I'd like it to kind of, I'd like this remake to kind of match the style of the recent Rune Factory games, where it's a little more silly, a little more quirky, a little more interesting. Obviously, the most iconic part is when he says, "All you fuddy-duddies are the same." Yep, so you sound just like my father. All you old fuddy-duddies are the same. Alright, I also made this little greeting thing for Leo. I even put in a little decision system, which you'll get to see here. You get to choose how you respond to what he says. I don't know if this is exactly how it's going to make it into the remake, but it's just to show you my decision system here. Pops up with these decisions. That is what a decision system is. I guess my line of thinking here was his friendliness jumps up that much more or lowers depending on what you say. I thought that would be interesting to try out. So I can say, "You bet." And he's a little thrown off because he's a really surly guy. I also made a quest system here recently. That was the last thing I just did. So I made a little... Oh gosh. I made a little console command system that I can use to just start any quest that I want to. Also, you may have noticed the music system is working. So I have a special system where actually I can access the loop and tell it to stop. The loop on this track doesn't sound very good, so it needs some adjusting, but still it works, and I can make it so that in dialogue the music changes kind of like it does in the latest Rune Factory games. The quest ID was SQ Emmett 00. This is the quest where you find the rollabouty, which I made, I hope, a little more interesting to you guys. I say you guys as if I have an audience. This is a really niche game. Very few people really talk about it. The only place you can find people who really know the series is on Reddit and the Discord for the game. And set the stage, which is 0. Stage of the quest determines values at different parts of the quest. So I just enter that, and it should start. So I talk to Emmett like you do in the original game. In the original game, you walk up to Emmett and you talk to him, and he's like, "Hey, so there's this wine I really like." Okay, well, we barely started talking, so why? That doesn't make any sense. So he asks you if you got any wishes, and you can tell him whatever wish you're thinking. I want to travel the world. I want to get married someday. I want to be skilled in the art of combat. Haven't got a hard plan. I'm gonna say I want to get married someday. Although I'm already married. But It's waifus, so it's different. Wouldn't mind really settling down. I believe it is an important thing to have wishes, to have a goal, something to hold on to. It's a shame they aren't always attainable. This is where we more naturally transition into talking about the rollabouty. I just thought a little more interesting dialogue would help the game be more interesting, so you're not trying to skip all the time. I'm not gonna lie, some of the dialogue in Rune Factory 4 was so extensive that I just wanted to skip it all. I mean, a lot of it was good, but just because you have a lot of dialogue doesn't mean it's good. So I don't think you can have too little, and I think you shouldn't have too much. I have just one wish in life, to try the legendary wine, the rollabouty. It was made over 50 years ago, and some think that 10 bottles remain, but surely that's just a dream. Alright, so it's in this time when you would go to Bianca's father's house, Jasper's house, and you'd go down to the cellar, and you'd find the rollabouty. I don't have a town yet. That's what we're going to do today. I just wanted to show you a rundown of things I've been doing. So anyway, Bianca's right here, just for testing purposes. So you talk to Bianca, and it'll activate this part of the quest where you found the rollabouty. Of course, eventually you'll look at like the crates inside the cellar, and she'll come down and talk to you. But I haven't set that up yet, obviously. What are you doing here? I'm looking for something. Isn't that rollabouty in your hands? You know about it. See, all the dialogue, I try to keep it most in line with the original game as possible. I just try to make it more interesting. It's a rare wine. Daddy bought up all the bottles, so it's scarce. He says it doesn't taste all that good, and I doubt he'll ever drink it, so just take it. And I also set it up so dialogue can give you items in your inventory, which I can show you in a minute too. So it says you got rollabouty, and if I open my inventory, you can see I have the rollabouty right here. Also, I know some of this looks a little jarring. This is my actual good remake of the original UI up here in the top left. This has not been updated. This is just some old stuff that I had, so I'm just adapting with this till I change the UI. So I have the rollabouty. It's a quest item, level 9, an elusive wine. Only 10 bottles are said to exist in the world. Tells you information just like the original. But we can take the rollabouty to Emmett, and he's like, what? And you say, it's for you. The rare rollabouty, how, why, where did you get this? Now this is where I made the dialogue actually interesting. In the original, he just takes the rollabouty and says, thank you. What? Emmett had said he has been searching for this wine for so freaking long. Why would he not gulp the whole thing down? So that's what I set up. So he says, the rare rollabouty, how, why, where'd you get this? I got it from Jasper's wine cellar. I thought it would be only appropriate to give it to you. Why don't you try a little? Oh yeah, only appropriate. I added that in there because in the original he says, it's a shame I'm not old enough to drink it. It just seems, it makes it seem like they're younger than they really seem. So he says, why don't you try a little? The music changes, like I said. He starts chugging it down. And I also made an animation where the text box will shake. Tells him it'll run out quick if he keeps chugging it, but he drinks it all down. Now we play this kind of awkward music that was actually not really used very much in the original game. So he says, wow, that was delicious. Thanks, I'm so happy. As a token of my gratitude for the rollabouty, please have this, my renowned ultimate curry. You got ultimate curry. We're truly thankful. So you look in here, and there it is, the ultimate curry. Now, something's different about this. I think in the original he doesn't give you 9 of them, and it's like, well, this is so special for him. Why would he not give you a whole bunch of ultimate curries? So we have 9 ultimate curries. This is something else I wanted to show you. Set it up so just like in the later games, the items stack up when you are holding a stack of stackable items. I still have yet to make it so the items kind of drag behind you, but that will be done. So we can put that in our backpack. Next thing I want to show you is I have some items here on the ground. You can pick them up. You can stack them as you pick them up, just like the recent games. You can throw them if you're actually running. You can throw them if you're running. Otherwise, you'll just put them in your backpack. So I'm really just trying to bring the first game up to the standard for the recent games, and I think that will make things a lot better. Now, next thing I want to show you is I have this weapon here, and I can equip it. It gives me a little more stat, a good stat boost. I started working on enemies. Some of these are just static. They're not actually enemies, but I could drop them in. But these guys are alive, so we can attack them. I made pretty much all of the Carmite Cave enemies now. I just need to make the Greater Demon, the boss of the Carmite Cave. So he can hit you and has a nice particle effect. You can see up in the top left your HP goes down. You can whack these guys, and like in the original, they get stunned while they're being attacked. So it's more manageable and you don't get hit while you're hitting them. Got the bee over here too, yeah. Hoping to also make the machines soon that spawn them. And looks like I got a goblin over here, yeah. Oh, I'm dead, so it's gonna quit on me. But that's okay, because that's pretty much all I really wanted to show you. That's the gist of what I've done recently. So today, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be setting up the Town of Kardea. That's the town that you are in the game. You got all these buildings. They're very detailed, because as far as I know, the backdrops for the original game were painted. I'm not doing that. So we're going to make some assets for them, but here's the deal. I want to have a frame of reference for how big they'll be, just have the world set up before I look at how I want the buildings to look. I want them to match what they look like in the game, but I can't work on them until I have an idea of a vision for the town in the remake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make placeholder buildings that don't really look that good, but will functionally serve as representations of the buildings. I'm just going to import them into the project, and I'm going to build the Town of Kardea out of placeholder cubes, basically. So you'll kind of see what I mean as I'm making these placeholders, and then we will set up the Town of Kardea. And then after that, I hope to release some videos making the actual buildings and assets. So that's what we're going to do right now, and cue montage. Alright, so we're back. It's 2 days since I started this video. I really honestly only meant to make these buildings like just a few cubes, but I got ambitious, I guess. But the point of them is really just to make sure that I don't spend too much time polishing before anything's really even built. Because that's a habit of mine, is I polish as I go, and that's not the way you should do things. But as you can see, I did try and put a little more effort into them just so they look kind of like the real deal. Just to give you a rough idea of what things are going to look like. At least they're kind of recognizable. Here's Jasper's Manor. Here's the chapel. Here's Camus's place. Newman's place. Here's the bathhouse. Back here is our good old Mayor Godwin's house. And up here we have the general store, the hospital, and we have a library here. And finally, of course, we have the inn and the blacksmith, Leo's place, and Emmett's always empty bar. We're going to change that in the remake, though. I'm just going to take everything here, going to make sure it's lined up just about right on the axis here, so things aren't being dragged into the world in Unreal Engine really weirdly. And I'm going to export them, and we're going to lay out kind of an idea of what the town will look like inside our Unreal Engine project. So let's do that real quick. So now the next thing to do is figure out their collision so that I can actually approach the doors a little bit better. Alright, so I set it to use complex, collision as simple, and now I can approach all of the little crevices of the building. So now what we gotta do is actually set up the town. So in the original game, we had 3 strips, and then we had the plaza in the back and the beach on the right, coming from the first strip. That's what I didn't do. I did not do Sabrina's shack, so maybe we'll do that later. As you can see, we have kind of a working structure for what Kardia is going to look like. Make sure I have all the settings I want here in the material. Two-sided. Apply. Okay. Alright, so now before I finish this video, I want to show you a close-up of each building, because despite being placeholders, they're very valid placeholders, and I'm very proud of them. Here's our good old man Gene's store, the hospital. Here's the library. Over here we have Emmett's bar. There's the inn that I'm fairly proud of. Here's the smithy with a messed up normal up in the top left. It's very distracting. Here's the chapel of Wesley. Here's Camus's home. Going all the way down here, we will find Newman's place. He does all the construction and all the furniture for you. And over here is the bathhouse, which I actually really like. I think I did pretty well in the detail. Back here we have Mayor Godwin's home. Pretty fine. Finally, I have Jasper's Manor. Funny, I actually started making the official one before I did any of these placeholders, and then I was like, this is too much to take on right now. I'll just make placeholders and I'll flesh out the mechanics, then I'll get to actual polish and detail. That's gonna do it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed watching me develop the little placeholder town of Kardea so I can flesh out these mechanics. If there's a specific mechanic or some aspect of the world or the game you want to see created, let me know in the comments below, and I might consider expediting some processes depending on what people kind of want to see in the progress of this project. But other than that, I will see you next time, in which I may or may not work on the beach of Kardia where Sabrina's shack is. That's the only building I haven't done. And so, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Stick around for more of this, if I can stay on top of it. Thank you for watching.